This week on the show, Google launches a new live broadcasting tool for everyone. A fashion video tops the YouTube charts, and an indie web studio sells for $30 to $40 million. Right here on Behind the Video, episode number 2.
This episode of Behind the Video is brought to you by the Independent Media Network. The Independent Media Network helps journalists and content creators create their own jobs by building sustainable online businesses. If you're an unemployed or underemployed journalist or content creator, visit imnct.com for more information. And welcome back to Behind the Video. This is Lon Seidman, and I'm here with, as always, my lovely and talented co-host, Tim Street, who's in a very tropical environment today. How you doing, Tim?
Doing well, doing well. Hey, that's not me.
I think we have another guest joining us for a second appearance. Goldie Chan is here too. Hey, Goldie.
Hey, I'm not quite in such a tropical place, so I'll hope you forgive me.
It looks like you're working.
I am working.
Well, that's no fun.
I know.
Hey, I'm working too. I'm just preparing myself for this summer's edition of Office at the Beach.
Well,
I like doing Office at the Beach. That's my thing.
That sounds like a good thing. Maybe I'll try that too. So we'll have to see where that develops. Now, so the first big development that's happened this week is actually something that we're doing right now, which is broadcasting live via the new Google Hangouts on Air, which has just been opened up to the rest of us mortals. So last week
how'd you get that to work, Lon? What'd you do? Break some legs?
No, in fact, they just opened it up to the rest of the world. So everybody can do this now, including us, which is great. Unfortunately, not all of my accounts have been activated, so it made it hard to invite everybody. Poor Goldie. We were inviting the wrong Goldie Chan for a while, so hopefully she doesn't pop in. There's a couple of Goldie Chans on Google Plus apparently. But
how dare they?
How dare they? You got to copyright that name and be done with it. So one day we'll help you out with that. But what's neat about it is that it creates a live YouTube page for you also. So that link that we just send out to our Google Plus streams is live on YouTube, and then once the show ends, it'll put a recording up. And we can then, of course, download it, take it down, re-edit, and put it back up. So Tim, is this a game changer?
I think so. I think this is going to enable a lot of people to get out there and interact and build new audiences in ways that they haven't thought about. You know, you go back to the early days of the computer when the personal computer was just coming out. People were like, oh, this is going to be great. We can manage our recipes with this. Well, I don't know too many people that use a computer to manage their recipes. I'm sure they're out there. I just don't know those people. So all the stuff that we wound up doing with the PC, we never thought of. And I think we're going to see the same thing here with this type of communication tool.
And Goldie, you're in this business, so what does this do for your clients? I mean, does this give a quicker means to starting a live broadcast with multiple people?
You know what? It's funny because I have some older clients who are pretty resistant sometimes to new technologies. So, you know, I finally got them on Skype to start Skyping with me. And now I'm like, guys, we should really do Google Hangout. And they're like, what? We have to change again? So for some of my clients, getting them on new technology is sometimes a struggle. I personally think that it's really interesting. And it actually seems like a lot more stable technology. So that I like. So that drops a lot fewer calls.
Yeah, that's for sure. What I like about it too is that there's no driver, you don't really need a lot of fancy equipment. And other services, of course, like Ustream and Livestream can do this kind of thing. But what's nice about this is that it's easy to get a group conversation going, especially for a show like this one where we're doing a roundtable kind of thing. It's very easy to get it out there, and the integration with the Google Plus social network is equally cool. And the fact that we're not going to get interrupted by ads as we go as well, which is kind of
and the fact that it gets posted right to YouTube. I mean, that's super convenient.
It's very convenient. It is very convenient. And one of the things that you can also do on YouTube after it's recorded is you can download the MP4. Edit out the parts that you want to edit out and put it back up. So it has all the full YouTube capability. So we're going to really try using this a lot more. I think it's although I love my basement studio, I think this show might actually be better off with a lower tech, less gadget environment. So we're gonna give that a shot. So we want to get into our top charts of the week, and we all know what the top movie is, but we're going to build up the suspense and go through the top 5 movies this week. So the lucky one was number 5. Have you, any of you seen this one? I have no idea. Goldie, do you know who's in the lucky one?
You know what? You're really asking the wrong person. I saw movie
Let's
number
see,
1.
the lucky one. That was Zac Efron. Oh, yeah. This is the, now I know why I missed it.
Yeah, you know what? Sorry. As, I guess, the token girl on this broadcast, I guess I should have seen it, but...
Well, you know what it is? You're spending too much time making quality online content, so maybe that's the problem.
There you go, for sure.
So.
Number 4 was The Pirates, the Band of Misfits, brought in $5.5 million this week. The Hunger Games is still hanging on, $5.5 million, but it's racked up about $381 million so far, not counting book sales too. So this is on its way to becoming a $1 billion franchise. So congrats to them. And Connecticut native, by the way, where I live, wrote the books. So she's from Newtown, Connecticut, not too far from me. Think Like a Man, which is something I do all the time. Came in at $73 million, and of course, number 1 with the biggest opening of all time. Is that correct? The Avengers.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting with the Avengers, and they did this with a few other movies recently. They opened it overseas first, built an audience there, built the buzz there, and then brought it to the U.S. And so that's really flipped the business model of the movie business upside down, because it used to be your U.S. box office really drove sales across the world, and now it's reversed, which is, you know, that's something that hasn't changed for 50 years, and now it's changing. So it's really interesting. I think also seeing a silent movie win Best Picture last year opened up a lot of eyes too. When you have something where language isn't a barrier, it opens up international distribution, global distribution, and I think we're going to see more innovative ways of reaching a global audience.
And for sure, with the Avengers, they couldn't go wrong either with taking a bunch of hit movies and mashing them up, right? It can only amplify the dollar potential. Is that part of the success too, do you think, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Goldie, I know you've been locked in that office working. Did you get a chance to see the Avengers yet?
I actually totally did, and I almost dressed up for it, but I didn't.
Wow. And what did you think of the movie?
You know what? I actually really liked it. I've watched pretty much the entire franchise, being a huge nerd. But I thought it was done really well. I thought similar to Captain America, there were really funny moments in there that I wasn't kind of expecting there to be. I just thought it was a really well-crafted script, and I can see how it would translate to a broader audience than maybe the individual movies have. For example, like Thor, it's like a much more specific hero movie, but this one was like, here's a little piece for everyone, and you literally have, 6, 7 characters in there that people might recognize. So
it looks like a great movie. I have not seen it yet, but I might actually go out to the movies and see it. I never leave my lair here, so.
I actually went and saw a screening of a documentary about eating healthy. It was called Forks Over Knives, and I'm like a big meat eater, and this movie had an impact on me. It's really interesting how the premise of this film is that a whole food plant-based diet is a way to live a healthy life. And it was an eye-opening experience how much of our health issues are caused by eating products from animals, even though I love them so much.
Yeah, it's hard to give up the animal stuff. I actually lost about 45 pounds, like reprogramming my diet, and I think there's a lot to be learned about that kind of thing, and hopefully that's a movie people might actually want to go see too.
Yeah, I think you can watch it on Netflix now.
Well, there's definitely something to be said. One of my friends is a huge health nut because he's a dancer. And there's definitely something to be said, I think, for eating at least chickens that are and eggs from chickens that are free range and organic, because you just get less junk in the kind of food that you're eating.
We have a bunch of free-range chickens in my neighborhood that just kind of walk all over the place and sometimes eat people's gardens. But
do you ever catch them watching the top TV shows?
I haven't, but I did catch somebody in my house watching one of them, and that was NCIS. Dominates the 5 and the 1 slot this week. The Los Angeles edition is coming in at number 5. Interesting that we have some dramas up there now in the top 5. American Idol is number 4. Dancing with the Stars, number 3. American Idol again at number 2, and NCIS at number 1. And NCIS is one of those shows that you really get kind of hooked on. I mean, it's been on for quite a while, and it's been dominating the airwaves ever since it was first on. So what's
now, were these season finales, or is this the build-up to the season finale?
I bet you it's probably the build-up, right? Goldie, do you know anything about NCIS? I haven't.
You know what? I don't. I don't watch NCIS.
Well, tell me. But I will say my wife watches it, and as a result, I do as well. But what's been interesting about my wife's viewing habits is that she does not watch it on television anymore. She watches the stream from CBS.com.
Is she more of a cable TV person or broadcast?
She was a cable TV person until I dropped all of our cable services. So
now
that's why. That might be why she's doing more of the watching on the computer. We do get the network still. I kept that part of our cable tier, but yeah, I think she does spend the bulk of her time actually watching broadcast network shows.
Well, then she probably missed out on some of the sporting events that topped the charts in the cable world this week.
She probably did, and what do we got there? The NBA taking all but the top 2.
Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, WWE Raw took the top 2 spots, but NBA playoffs dominated the rest. It was quite interesting to see that. I was at, where was I at last week? Was it last week? I can't remember now. Digital Hollywood last week, and we had basketball players staying in the hotel there. Which is always interesting to have a business conference, and then you've got these 7-foot giants walking around.
I was at Digital Hollywood as well, and I don't remember the 7-foot giants. So you were
they were there early in the morning, and you'd already left. It was
you can't miss them.
Yeah, they were big. Another thing that seems to be happening. I mean, a lot of people migrating everywhere, but the Hulu streams have been staying consistent. Did you notice that as well, Lon?
I did notice that. In fact, it almost is a mirror image to what it was the last week when we talked about this thing. And I guess it's just that these are the kinds of things that people probably watch the whole season, and maybe they're catching up, and maybe that's why we're not seeing much movement there. What do you think, Goldie?
I totally agree, actually, and I know that a bunch of my friends, some of them don't actually have TVs, so they'll just get on Hulu and Netflix, and they'll watch a whole season of XYZ in one go. So I think that's completely accurate. I also think that, you just get on your phone and you're going and you're like, I want to watch some TV, so you get on one of these sites, or you, for example, Game of Thrones, you go on HBO Go, and then you're watching on HBO Go.
Right.
Yeah. I'm up to episode 3 of season 2 of Game of Thrones now, so I'm a little behind, but yeah, that's me. I'm watching on my iPad.
See, for me, I'm gonna have to wait until it shows up on Netflix in about 3 years, and then that'll dominate my life. So
there you go.
I'm very into it. Season 1 yet?
I haven't. No, I'm still like I still haven't watched Mad Men yet. I have to get to that. So
that's what I did with Mad Men. I caught up on Netflix with Mad Men.
So
much fun.
I've got a lot of work to do here to catch up with. It's a problem when you live in a cocoon like I do. It's hard to get out and look at things.
That's why you need multiple monitors, so you can just play them all at once.
You know what? I think I'm going to do that, and that will give me an excuse to put more gadgets in my office here. So I am all for that. So I will definitely take advantage of that. So let's look at the YouTube charts here. Now I'm going to put this video up of this Secret Garden Versailles film. This is from Dior. I don't get this, but apparently 16 million viewers did. So help me out here. Goldie, I hate to put you on the spot as our female representative, but help me out. What's so great about this video? I don't get it.
It's not even so much the video. I've just noticed that there's been definitely an uptick in the kind of these short-form fashion videos. A couple of my friends are actually fashion designers, and so then my Facebook stream becomes, regular people going like, I'm eating a burrito, and then people posting high fashion videos like this. And I'm noticing that they're actually getting more and more, they're getting more and more fancy, for lack of a better word. And we're seeing these kind of very beautiful crane shots and all these other things. And and they just get passed around really quickly within the fashion world. And now you have things like Tumblr and Pinterest, which are really, I think, driving, also passing along of content like this that has a really wildly active kind of group of people who are like, oh my God, Dior just posted a video. I have to watch this. So it's not necessarily that they're like, oh my God, somebody posted a video called, Secret Garden.
Right. So, I thought it was maybe some kind of movie or something. But.
I have a sneaky suspicion, since a friend of mine that works in the fashion industry is in New York this week. I'm feeling it might be Fashion Week going on. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So it could be part of that.
Yeah.
Well, that could be part of it, too. And what was really interesting is that all top 5 of the YouTube clips this week were not things done by independent producers, but number 1 and 2 were the Secret Garden videos. There's one long one and one short one. So the long one's 5 million views, the short one's 16 million. So the shorter the better. I guess that's the lesson there. The Expendables 2, that we thought maybe this would be a one-shot deal, return to the 80s, but the next trailer for Expendables 2 dominated the number 4 spot, and actually there was a second video which was in the top 20. There was also, the last one, number 5, was a clip of singing nuns on one of those talent shows. So, but all professionally produced content this week. So I thought
it's interesting. I always wonder, how much of it is organic and how much of it is manipulated. Because, if you manipulate your video posts so that you get a lot of views when it first comes out, then it gets featured, and then once it's featured, then it skyrockets. But, sometimes it's something that makes sense, and other times it'll be like a video from Turkey where everybody just starts clicking on it, and you're like, well, why is everybody watching this? It just keeps going and going. And the Dior one could be that as well. But, I mean, the one that got me last week that collectively has over 100 million views is the one where 5 people are playing one guitar, and it's a cover song of what's that song, Goldie? I used to know.
Somebody that I used to know.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, it's addictive. I can't stop watching it. I got to stay away.
It's beautiful.
It is great.
And I
believe the band is called They Walk on Earth.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I believe they actually, I'll put the video up here for those watching, I believe they got signed as a result of this, or because they are now a signed band with a major label.
Yeah.
And I think it was due to their YouTube.
104 million.
Yeah.
104 million views. So if you get 104 million views, you too can get signed.
And I also think, to be fair, that they already had some watchers on them, and they were already making kind of quirky content before then. I know that one of them beatboxes, and they all kind of mix music themselves and play funny instruments. So.
And the bearded guy has T-shirts that are called the Bearded Guy T-shirts.
So they've already got the merchandising all figured out here, it looks like, doesn't it?
I wonder if they're going to come out with an e-book. You think they might, maybe some video and an e-book?
They might, because if you do that, you can make some money on the movie rights. The 50 Shades of Grey series is the top 3 this week.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades Darker, 50 Shades Freed. It's a book that they call it female fantasy. What's the other word? It starts with a P. Anyway, I can't remember what it is. But it's a story of this young girl that goes to interview this young entrepreneur who's a billionaire, and he's very attractive, and she's doing a cover story for her friend, and they're just about ready to graduate college, and she goes and totally bumbles this interview, and then winds up having this torrid love affair with this guy, and they get 3 books out of it, and $5 million for the movie rights. Not too bad for a former TV executive from the UK.
And that's another thing that I haven't read or watched. So.
You know what? I haven't read or watched it either, but what I find funny is every once in a while I've been seeing posts of females, once again, on my Tumblr stream that are like, OMG, who are they going to cast for the lead female? And then people are actually, putting up grids of, females that they cast and males that they cast, which is really funny to me. So people are really invested in this book and who's going to be in the movie.
And that it's almost similar to how the Hunger Games kind of developed itself too. That there was a lot of speculation of who was going to get cast in what role, and people, the anticipation for the movies was just off the charts. And Hunger Games, by the way, is the top 4 and 5 position on the Kindle store. Interestingly, I don't think you can buy the Hunger Games on the iTunes bookstore. I don't know if anyone has ever found it there. I certainly didn't. So so the lists between iTunes and Amazon are a little bit different. 4 and 5 on the iTunes store, City of Lost Souls and the 11th Hour. So perhaps the Hunger Games series would have knocked those guys out of the top 5 if they were on there. So very interesting in our top lists of the week. We've got time for a couple of news stories, Tim, right?
Yeah, sure. There's a big one in the web video world for sure. You know, if you're a Discovery Communications fan, you probably haven't seen too many of their web videos being online or on the iTunes podcast store. But over the last 5 years, if you have been consuming videos on iTunes or on YouTube, you've probably run into something from Revision 3. And Discovery bought Revision 3 this last week for, I believe, $30 to $40 million is what they paid. And so Jim Lauterbach, who's on the board of directors of the IAW-TV, is going to be speaking about it next week in New York at Streaming Media East. And I'll be there, so hopefully I'll learn something new. But good news for those guys. I mean, they get rid of the drunken couch with Kevin Rose and Alex Albrecht doing Dignation, and they sell for $35 million. Pretty crazy.
Not a bad way to end the, well, I guess to begin the company or begin a new phase of it. And I would certainly we are on the market. So if anyone has $30 million for this show, we will be more than happy to take your offer and your check. But, you know, one thing that was interesting about Revision 3 was the pivot that they made, because they started doing all of their own content, maybe to do something similar to what Tech TV was in the past. And they still do some, but they really went out and found popular web hosts and kind of brought them into their orbit and helped them with, maybe probably supported their efforts, but sold advertising against established channels. And I thought that was a good strategy, and one that certainly resulted in an acquisition. Goldie, what do you think about this kind of thing? Is this where we should be looking, as the channel side of things?
I think so. Definitely the channel side of things looks very popular. I mean, with YouTube investing so much money in creating paid channels, you have to think, well, they're pretty good at making money these days. So maybe they know what they're doing. But I was actually reading this really interesting article on pivots, and this is just something funny I read. And it said that YouTube was originally a video dating site when they originally had thought of the idea, and then look at the pivot, because it's very different now. I mean, maybe it's not, but I think it is. So
the key to becoming a millionaire or a billionaire is to start your site out as a dating site.
You know what, I have to say, MySpace, you know, there are rumors that MySpace originally started out as a way for, you know, Tom of MySpace to meet girls.
And we know that Facebook started that way, too.
And Facebook started that way, too, so I guess men of the world, if you want to meet ladies, it's a good way to do it, is to start a multi-billion-dollar website.
So let me ask this question then, because I think this is something that you both have experience in. Maybe we'll start with Tim and then go to Goldie. How do I build a channel that gets enough viewership to get noticed by one of these people that will eventually get acquired and make me a millionaire? So what's the process that, if I'm starting from nothing, how do I build an audience now when there's so many people trying to do the same thing? Tim?
Yeah, you know, people think, oh, it's too late, you know, YouTube already sold, all these. It's not too late. It's still early days, and it really boils down to coming up with something that's original and different, that you can't get someplace else, that moves human emotions, has spectacle and story. And those are just the ingredients, and just like cooking something, you can't always, you know, not everybody's going to be a great chef. So you've got to pay attention to what's working out there and where the puck might go, and skate to where the puck's going to go as opposed to where it's at now.
So there maybe isn't some turnkey solution. It's just a matter of getting the right story at the right time to the right viewers, right?
Yeah, it's trying to anticipate where things are going to be going next. I mean, for me, I think that place is going to be enhanced ebooks, because, you know, in terms of monetizing video out there, it's pretty hard to do if you're posting it on YouTube. I mean, you can build an audience and get an advertising revenue, but when you look at the ebook situation, there is people pay for ebooks, and you can put video in ebooks now. So it's a great way to enhance a written story with video, and people are buying.
And Tim, you're working with a really interesting product right now that you were telling me about to create an ebook, right?
Yeah, iBook Author. I can't stop saying enough good things about it. It's a free application from Apple. You can download it for free from the App Store, and you have to use it on your computer. You can't use it directly on the iPad, but it makes enhanced ebooks with video, audio, photographs, text, and then so you can, if you wanted to put together an interactive cookbook, you could do that and make it available for sale on the iTunes bookstore.
And a number of other stories we wanted to look at here was the Nielsen report on the cross-platform about how we watch from screen to screen, and that the average American is consuming 5 hours of video a day. Most of it on a traditional television set, but there is some shift happening, and there's some movement. Can ebooks become a way to tie things into television content, or is there some other component that we need to have in place here to get those screens moving in between the TV and the portable device, or both?
Well, I think right now we're seeing a race going on for the second screen content with people in the iPad and creating companion content that plays along with the TV show. The music recognition software Shazam is being used to sync things by using the audio of the shows. And there's different things that are going on, but a lot of different companies are racing for that. So it's interesting in how the licensing issues that are preventing us from having interactive TV on the PC are creating something new on the iPad and on the Android tablets because of the fact that the rights owners won't let that content be available on an interactive device that already exists. So they're trying to keep the genie in the bottle, which you can't blame them for. But at the same time, they're creating workarounds.
And Goldie, how do you, as you're a producer, you're doing all this stuff. How do you keep up with it? I mean, what do you have to do to keep up with this, number one, and then offer this to your clients as another solution that they can use to build viewership?
You know what? I read all the time, and I think that's something I did as a little kid, and I still do today. And I think that I read TechCrunch a lot, and I keep on track of, I think, a lot of the trends. Like I said, I was just reading an article on pivots. But what's funny is by the time something makes it to an article, sometimes it's already too late. So I think, like Tim said, you have to be able to predict certain trends and predict things that will happen in the future. And that involves a lot of video content, watching yourself, and a lot of hearing if your friends are video content creators, hearing what they have to say about what they think is, I guess, the next thing that they're working on. Because if they're working on it, you're right at the forefront of it, I think.
So you mean you actually have to interact with other human beings?
Yeah, I read another article actually the other day that was really funny. It was saying, we've kind of lost sight of the best way to network, which is to talk in person. Because, I love things like this, Google Hangouts and Skype, and et cetera, et cetera. But I know when I meet with a client for the first time, sometimes there's a temptation if they're far away for me to not meet them in person. But I think it's actually incredibly important to have that at least first in-person interview or talk, so you get to know each other. Because as humans, we still want to read certain cues. And I think that as video and as all this content becomes more interactive, we're getting closer and closer to not replicating, but really creating that feeling that we're really having a human to human interaction, which is really what's going to drive people to want to, say, read that interactive ebook or to watch more video content. And I think that's why content creators like, say, Michelle Phan, who does makeup, is so popular, because she talks really regularly with her audience.
So what's old is new again, everybody. So interact, interact, interact. And that brings us to the end of our show. And by the way, you can interact with us. If you go on Google+, follow our Behind the Video page. We're going to start a Facebook page up very shortly and a website and all sorts of other stuff so that you can hear from us any way you want, and we want to hear from you because we are building this show from scratch, and we need to know if we are providing you information that is of interest. So definitely get us that information. And I want to add before we close out the show, Jason Perrier, who's our producer, helped get all these stories and top 10 lists together. He is a rock star. We're going to have him on the show soon, just once his schedule permits. So you get to meet Jason as well. And Goldie, where can people find you to get into all the things that you're up to and interact with you so they can learn things as well?
You know what? You can always find me at Twitter at Goldie Chan, or you can find me on Facebook /Goldie.Chan. Excellent.
And Tim, where can folks find you?
Just Google Tim Street.
There you go. It's all you need. One click does it all. And I'm Lon Seidman. You can find me on Twitter at LONSEIDMAN, and I'll share all the things that I'm up to as well. And that'll do it for our second episode of Behind the Video. Thank you, everyone who joined us live and those who are joining us on demand. And we hope to see you next week.
Stories for this episode were compiled by producer Jason Perrier. Follow him on Twitter at JASONPERRIER. Behind the Video is a production of Ape Digital Incorporated and the Independent Media Network, LLC. All rights reserved.